The summer sunset bathed the neighborhood in a warm, amber glow, the sky a breathtaking canvas of orange and pink hues, as if an artist had spilled their palette across the horizon. As I strolled past my landlady's house, my eyes were drawn to the glowing curtains of her living room, which seemed to pulse with life. I caught a glimpse of her shadow moving behind the fabric, an ephemeral silhouette darting to and fro, and my heart quickened, a subtle thrill igniting within me, stirring a low hum of tension that vibrated through my core. "Come in. I need your opinion," she called out, her voice slicing through the evening air with an unexpected directness that sent a shiver down my spine. I hesitated, my hand hovering just above the doorbell. I was Adrian Mason, 31 years old, a graphic designer by day and a habitual wallflower by nature, content to remain in the background, observing rather than participating. Maybe it was the golden light spilling from her windows, or perhaps it was the allure of being so close to her. But there was an electric charge in her invitation that pulled me forward, compelling me to step into the unknown. The front door swung open before I could knock, revealing Caroline Beckett, my landlady and neighbor. She was in her late 40s, with chestnut hair that fell in gentle waves around her shoulders, framing her face like a halo. Her presence filled the doorway, warm and inviting, yet just a touch intimidating. She wore a simple sundress that clung to her figure in a way that emphasized her graceful posture, suggesting both elegance and strength. There was something about her, a magnetic quality that drew me in, sparking a mix of admiration and apprehension. "Adrian, perfect timing," she said, her voice laced with a hint of urgency. "I could use your discerning eye. I'm trying to decide on furniture placement, and I'm at a standstill. Come in." I stepped over the threshold, the cool air inside wrapping around me like a soft blanket, a stark contrast to the warm embrace of the evening outside. The living room was filled with boxes, remnants of her recent move, the scent of fresh paint mingling with the sweet aroma of summer flowers from the garden outside. It was a chaotic but vibrant space, a reflection of her personality, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of intrigue. "Wow, you've made quite a mess," I said, trying to fill the silence with humor, but the words felt flat against the palpable tension lingering between us. I was acutely aware of the intimacy of the moment, the closeness that seemed to stretch the boundaries of our landlord-tenant relationship. She smiled, a flicker of amusement crossing her features. "It's a work in progress," she replied, crossing her arms over her chest as if shielding herself from my gaze. Yet her stance was open, inviting me closer. "I have two options for where to put the couch and the chairs. I need to know which feels better." I approached the first arrangement, a cozy setup with the couch facing the window, framed by the soft glow of the dying sun. The light illuminated the room, casting a warm hue on the walls, and I could feel her presence behind me, a silent observer as I assessed the space. "Here," I suggested, gesturing toward the setup. "Maybe a bit too conventional?" she replied, her voice thoughtful, tinged with uncertainty. "Try moving the couch to the far wall. It'll create a more open flow." I nodded, my hands gripping the edge of the couch as I began to shift it. As I maneuvered the heavy piece, I felt her hand on my shoulder, steadying me. The warmth of her touch seeped through the fabric of my shirt, sending a jolt of awareness coursing through me. It was a simple gesture, yet it felt monumental, as if it had crossed an invisible boundary that had existed between us. "Adjust your posture a bit," she said, her voice low and intimate, as if we were sharing a secret. "You'll get a better angle that way." I froze for a moment, her proximity disarming me. I could feel the heat radiating from her body, a magnetic pull that blurred the line between professional and personal. I shifted, taking her advice, but the air felt thicker now, charged with an unspoken tension. "Like this?" I asked, glancing sideways at her, my heart racing. "Exactly," she replied, her eyes meeting mine for a brief moment, and there was an intensity there, a flicker of something that made me question the boundaries we had set. I value honesty more than politeness, Adrian. If you think this looks off, I want you to say so. Our eyes locked, and in that moment, the world outside faded away. I felt seen, and yet the weight of her expectation loomed over me. I could either tell her the truth or play it safe, and the choice felt heavy, the air thick with possibility. It feels a little cramped, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. But maybe it's just the way the light is hitting it? Or maybe it's that I'm too focused on the outcome instead of the process, she countered, stepping back slightly, allowing a sliver of space between us. Let's try the second option. The second setup was more dynamic, the couch angled to create a cozy nook. She gestured to a stack of pillows and a small side table. I moved them into place while she stepped aside, watching me intently, her gaze unwavering. The air was thick with possibility, the kind that made my heart race and my palms sweat. She seemed to be considering more than just the furniture. It felt as though she was weighing the dynamics between us, too. Do you think I should add more color? She asked, glancing around the room, her brow furrowed in thought. I don't want it to feel too dull. Color can be great for energy, I replied, my voice steadier now, emboldened by the intimacy of our interaction. But it can also overwhelm a space if not balanced correctly. She nodded, her eyes narrowing slightly as she absorbed my words. What do you do when you feel overwhelmed? The question caught me off guard, and I paused, my hand hovering above a stack of fabric swatches. I usually step back and take a breath. Sometimes, I just need to remove myself from the situation. Good advice, Adrian, she said, and I sensed a shift in her demeanor. She stepped closer again, her presence enveloping me, the world outside fading into a distant memory. It's important to find a way to create space, both physically and emotionally. We can get so caught up in the small details that we forget to breathe. Her voice was soothing, and yet, there was an intensity to it that made my heart race. I could almost feel the weight of her thoughts, the questions swirling beneath the surface. We were standing so close now that I could see the flecks of gold in her hazel eyes, the way they glimmered with unspoken truths. I think we've created a good balance here, I said, gesturing to the newly arranged space, trying to redirect the conversation back to safe territory. Yes, it feels more open now, she replied, a hint of relief washing over her features. But it's not just about the furniture, is it? I swallowed hard, the air thickening between us. What do you mean? She hesitated, her gaze dropping momentarily, her expression clouded with something I couldn't quite read. Sometimes, I feel like we're both balancing on the edge of something, and I'm not sure what that is. The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air like a fragile promise. I felt exposed, as if she had peeled back the layers I had carefully constructed. I wanted to say something, to bridge the distance that was forming, but the words felt trapped in my throat. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, she said finally, her voice softening. I value honesty, remember? Right? I replied, my heart pounding. I appreciate that. Good, she said, stepping back slightly, creating a bit more distance. Let's focus on the task at hand. As we continued to rearrange the furniture, the tension between us shifted. The playful banter returned, but it was laced with an undercurrent of something deeper, something unspoken. I could see the way she glanced at me when she thought I wasn't looking, the way her smile lingered just a moment longer than necessary. With each piece we moved, I felt the boundaries between us blur. It was exhilarating and terrifying, the thrill of the unknown mingling with the fear of crossing a line we had both been careful to maintain. At one point, as I adjusted the position of a chair, I felt her hand on my back, guiding me. Just a bit more to the left, she whispered, her breath warm against my skin. The closeness ignited a spark of awareness, and I turned to face her, the air between us humming with an electric tension. "Is this what you needed my opinion for?" I asked, my voice low, a challenge hanging in the air, daring to cross the threshold of our carefully drawn boundaries. She met my gaze, the intensity of her expression sending a shiver down my spine. "Maybe it's what I needed more than just your opinion," she admitted, her words hanging like a fragile thread between us, filled with unspoken implications. A moment of silence stretched, the weight of her honesty palpable. I could feel the heat radiating from her, a palpable charge that made my heart race. But before I could respond, a car pulled into the driveway outside, its headlights casting an intrusive beam of light into the room. The moment shattered, the tension dissipating like smoke in the wind. "Just my neighbor," she said, stepping back, her demeanor shifting once again. "I should probably wrap this up for now, right?" I replied, my heart still racing. "I'll let you finish." As I moved toward the door, I felt her gaze on me, a mixture of regret and unspoken promise. "Thank you for your help, Adrian. I really appreciate it." "Anytime," I replied, forcing a smile as I stepped outside, the cool evening air hitting my skin like a splash of cold water. As I walked back to my apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between us. The air was filled with unspoken words, an electric charge that crackled with potential. There was a new fragility, a delicate balance that had been forged in the space of that small living room. The unresolved tension hung in the air like a promise, a thread connecting us in a way that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. When I finally closed the door behind me, I leaned against it, my heart still racing. I could still feel her presence lingering, the warmth of her touch, the intensity of her gaze. I was lost in a whirlwind of emotions, each one more powerful than the last. Did she feel it too? Was I reading too much into a simple favor? Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a soft twilight, a canvas of muted colors blending into the night. I took a deep breath, the cool air filling my lungs, grounding me in the reality of my solitude. My mind raced with possibilities, scenarios unfolding like a movie reel. But even as I stood there, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The space between us was no longer defined by distance but by possibility, an uncharted territory waiting to be explored, a delicate dance of hesitation, desire, and unspoken understanding. And in that moment, as the stars began to twinkle overhead, I felt a flicker of hope, a fragile promise that perhaps, just perhaps, we could navigate this new reality together. That night, sleep eluded me. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment in Caroline's living room. The way her hair caught the light, the laughter that danced between us, the charged silence that spoke volumes more than words ever could. I felt like an architect laying the foundation for something new, a structure built on mutual respect and a burgeoning connection that defied explanation. The next morning dawned bright and clear, a perfect summer day. I made a cup of coffee, its rich aroma filling the small kitchen, and I stared out the window, my thoughts still lingering on Caroline. I had seen her in passing before, exchanged pleasantries, but this was different. This was a revelation, a crack in the facade of my mundane existence that revealed a world filled with color and possibility. After a quick shower, I dressed and decided to take a walk around the neighborhood, hoping that the fresh air would bring clarity. I meandered down the tree-lined streets, the sound of chirping birds and rustling leaves providing a soothing soundtrack to my thoughts. The sun warmed my skin, and I felt invigorated, alive with a sense of purpose. As I rounded the corner, I spotted Caroline in her front yard, her hands buried deep in the soil as she tended to the vibrant flowers that bloomed with reckless abandon. The sight of her, so engrossed in her work, struck a chord within me. There was something captivating about the way she nurtured the flowers, coaxing them to life, and it mirrored the way I felt about our budding connection. "Hey, Caroline," I called, my voice light and casual, betraying none of the excitement bubbling within. She looked up, a smile spreading across her face, illuminating her features in a way that made my heart skip a beat. Adrian, good morning. How's the day treating you? Pretty good. I just needed some fresh air, I replied, stepping closer, drawn in by her warmth. Looks like you're doing a great job here. Thanks. I'm trying to bring some life to the yard. It's a work in progress, much like my living room, she said, laughter dancing in her eyes. Want to help me pick some flowers for a bouquet? I could use some extra hands. I considered the offer for a moment, the thought of being so close to her again sending a thrill through me. Sure, I'd love to help. As we worked side by side, the conversation flowed easily. We talked about everything from favorite childhood memories to aspirations and dreams that lingered just out of reach. Each moment felt like a tiny thread weaving us closer together, creating a tapestry of shared experiences that filled the air with possibility. Do you ever wonder about the paths we take? She asked at one point, her gaze focused on the flowers as she gently snipped the stems. How one small decision can change everything. I paused, considering her words. All the time, I think about how I ended up in this neighborhood, in this house with you as my landlady. It feels like fate, in a way. She looked up, her expression thoughtful. Fate has a funny way of nudging us in the right direction, doesn't it? Sometimes we just need to be brave enough to follow where it leads. Her words resonated with me, echoing the internal struggle I had faced since our first encounter. The fear of vulnerability, of stepping into the unknown, was daunting. But in that moment, under the warm sun, surrounded by blooming flowers and the scent of summer in the air, I felt a glimmer of courage. Maybe we should be brave together, I suggested, my voice barely above a whisper, the weight of my words hanging in the air between us. Caroline's gaze met mine, a spark of understanding passing between us. I'd like that, Adrian. I really would. As we finished gathering flowers, I felt a sense of camaraderie blooming alongside the vibrant petals in my hands. It was as if we were crafting not just a bouquet but the beginnings of something beautiful, something that could flourish if nurtured with care and honesty. Later that evening, we arranged the flowers in her living room, the newly placed couch and chairs providing a backdrop of comfort and warmth. The bouquet added a burst of color, a vibrant centerpiece that tied the room together. This looks amazing, she said, stepping back to admire our handiwork. You have a great eye for detail. Thanks, but it was a team effort, I replied, feeling a warmth spread through me at her praise. As we stood together, admiring the room, the unspoken tension returned, a delicate thread weaving us together in a tapestry of shared moments. I could feel her presence beside me, the warmth radiating from her as she stood just a breath away. Adrian, she began, her voice low, almost hesitant. I want to thank you for being here, for helping me with the house and for everything. I turned to face her, our eyes locking once again. It's easy to help someone when it feels this rewarding. Her gaze softened, a hint of vulnerability surfacing. I've been feeling a bit lost lately, you know? Moving here, starting over, it's been a challenge. But you've made it easier, and I appreciate that more than you know. The weight of her words settled between us, and I felt an overwhelming urge to reach out, to close the gap that had formed between us. I'm glad I could help. You're not alone in this. I'm here too. As the words left my mouth, I could see the flicker of surprise in her eyes, followed by something more profound, a glimmer of hope. Thank you, Adrian, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. In that moment, time seemed to stretch, the air thick with anticipation. The space between us felt charged, electric with unspoken possibilities. I could sense the shift, the delicate balance of our connection teetering on the edge of something more profound. As if drawn by an invisible force, I took a step closer, my heart pounding in my chest. Caroline, but before I could finish, the doorbell rang, shattering the moment like glass. We both jumped back, the tension dissipating as reality intruded once more. "Just a moment," Caroline called, her voice a mix of surprise and disappointment. She turned to me, a hint of regret in her eyes. "I'm sorry, I should get that." "Of course," I replied, forcing a smile, though my heart sank a little. As she moved to answer the door, I felt a mixture of frustration and longing. The moment had been so close, so tantalizingly within reach, and yet it had slipped away like sand through my fingers. The door swung open to reveal a group of friends, their laughter spilling into the room like sunlight. "Caroline, we brought pizza," one of them exclaimed, a tall man with an easy smile and tousled hair. "Perfect timing," she said, her demeanor shifting instantly to that of a gracious host. "Come in, everyone." As the group filled the living room, the atmosphere shifted from intimate to lively, the sound of cheerful chatter filling the air. I watched from the sidelines, the warmth of the moment wrapping around me like a blanket, yet I felt a pang of longing for the connection we had almost forged. As the evening wore on, I joined in the laughter and conversation, but a part of me remained on the periphery, aware of the space between Caroline and me, the unspoken words hanging in the air like a delicate thread. I found myself stealing glances at her, watching the way she engaged with her friends, her laughter brightening the room. But even amid the jovial atmosphere, the connection we had shared earlier lingered in the back of my mind, a whisper of what could be. As the night drew to a close and the guests began to filter out, I lingered, helping Caroline clean up the remnants of the gathering. The air was thick with unsaid words, but we moved in a comfortable rhythm, our familiarity anchoring us amid the chaos. "Thank you for staying to help," she said, her voice soft as she cleared away the empty plates. "I really appreciate it." "Of course," I replied, my heart racing with the weight of unspoken emotions. "I enjoy spending time with you, Caroline." Her gaze met mine, and I could see the flicker of something in her eyes, a spark of recognition that sent a shiver down my spine. But before I could seize the moment, she looked away, busying herself with the dishes. "Do you want to join us for a movie sometime?" she asked, her voice casual, but I could sense the underlying hope. "Just as friends, of course." The invitation sent a thrill through me, but I couldn't ignore the pang of disappointment that accompanied it. "Yeah, I'd like that," I replied, forcing a smile. "Just as friends." As I left her house that night, the air felt heavy with unspoken possibilities. I could feel the weight of the moment lingering, the space between us filled with uncharted territory, and I couldn't help but wonder if we would ever bridge that gap. The next few days passed in a blur, a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. I found myself thinking of Caroline constantly, replaying our conversations and the moments we had shared. The tension that had developed between us was both exhilarating and terrifying, a dance of hesitation that left me breathless. Finally, the day of our movie night arrived, and I found myself pacing in my apartment, nerves fluttering in my stomach. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow that filled my space with light. I had chosen a comfortable outfit, something casual yet purposeful, hoping to convey a sense of ease while also signaling my intentions. When I knocked on her door, my heart raced, anticipation thrumming through me. Caroline opened the door, her smile bright and welcoming, and I was struck by how effortlessly beautiful she looked in a simple t-shirt and jeans. "Hey, you made it!" she exclaimed, stepping aside to let me in. The familiar scent of her home enveloped me, a warm and inviting atmosphere that felt like a comforting embrace. "Of course, wouldn't miss it," I replied, feeling a rush of warmth as I entered. We settled onto the couch, the soft fabric cradling us as the movie flickered to life on the screen. The opening credits rolled, but I found it hard to focus on the film. Instead, my attention was drawn to Caroline sitting beside me, her laughter bubbling over at the comedic moments, her eyes sparkling with delight. As the movie unfolded, I felt the distance between us begin to dissolve. We shared popcorn, the occasional brush of our hands igniting sparks that made my heart race. I could feel the tension building, a palpable energy that crackled in the air, and I knew we were both aware of the unspoken connection that lingered just beneath the surface. "Do you remember when we first met?" Caroline asked, glancing over at me, her expression softening. "Yeah," I replied, a smile spreading across my face as I recalled the moment. "I was so nervous to meet my landlady. You seemed so put together." She laughed, a melodic sound that sent a thrill through me. "I was just as nervous. I wasn't sure how you'd react to my chaotic house." "It's not chaotic. It's lived in," I corrected, my voice teasing. "It has character, just like you." Our eyes locked, and for a moment, the world outside faded away. The space between us pulsed with unspoken words, a fragile connection forming in the silence. "Adrian," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "I've been thinking a lot about us. About this." My heart raced, the moment hanging in the air like a delicate thread. "Me too," I admitted, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling within me. "What do you think it is?" she asked, her gaze searching mine, probing for an answer that lay just out of reach. "I think it's something worth exploring," I replied, my voice low and earnest. "The connection we have, it feels different, special." She nodded slowly, her expression contemplative. "I feel that too, but I don't want to rush anything. I want us to take our time." "Agreed," I said, relief flooding through me. "We can take it slow, see where this goes. I'm in no rush." As the movie played on, the tension shifted into something more profound, a sense of mutual understanding blossoming between us. The space that had once felt daunting now felt like fertile ground for something beautiful to grow, and I could sense the potential for a deeper connection, one that surpassed the boundaries of landlord and tenant. When the credits rolled and the movie came to an end, we lingered on the couch, the atmosphere charged with possibility. I could feel her warmth beside me, the electricity in the air beckoning me to take a leap. "Adrian," she said softly, turning to face me, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," I replied, my heart racing. "Do you think we could explore what this could be together?" Her eyes searched mine, a mixture of hope and vulnerability etched across her features. "Yes," I said without hesitation, the conviction of my words surprising even me. "I'd like that more than anything." In that moment, the space between us shrank to nothing. I leaned closer, my heart pounding as I brushed my lips against hers, the kiss igniting a fire between us that I had only dreamed of. It was tentative at first, a gentle exploration, but as our lips moved together, it became something more, an affirmation of the connection we had forged. When we finally pulled back, both breathless, the world around us faded into the background. The tension that had once felt heavy was now replaced with a sense of possibility, a shared understanding that we were embarking on a new journey together. "I'm glad we took this leap," she whispered, her eyes shimmering with excitement. "Me too, Caroline," I replied, a smile spreading across my face. "I think this is just the beginning." As we settled back into the couch, the space between us had transformed into a sanctuary, a place where we could explore the depths of our connection. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with twists and turns, but I felt a sense of hope and excitement bubbling within me. In that moment, under the soft glow of the television, surrounded by the remnants of our movie night, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. The space between us had become a bridge, leading us into a future filled with infinite possibilities, and I couldn't wait to see where it would take us.